Like the Real Housewives of Max Verstappen up in here.
Checo's checked out.
Joe Lonnie is off the track. That steak is cooked.
I gotta say, a lot is at stake for Steak F1.
Man, even the broadcast couldn't handle that stat.
Man, my heart almost was screaming like, how can anybody be a Lewis Hamilton fan?
No.
Not on my 2024 bingo card.
Yeah, gonna have to create a new one now.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Lights Out Latest. My name is Marina, and I'm here with Tristan, Steven, and Jason. Apologies for my voice. I'm losing it a little bit, but it was a big weekend. As per usual, let's start with the big news. Lewis has won a race again after 945 days since his last win back in Jeddah of 2021. What do you guys think? What'd you make of it?
What style to do it in? The whole race, it was up in the air, and he drove an incredible race to stay right on it. Mercedes nailed the strategy too. Verstappen, him and Schmidt at Red Bull totally nailed the strategy for Red Bull too.
Absolutely.
But in the end, Lewis just outdrove it. Incredible. Put a P2. Just as thrilling as his last win in Saudi Arabia. That I was screaming at the TV too. So great to see him as a future Ferrari driver doing well.
And another new winner for the year.
Six different winner of the year, baby.
Now,
Six winners in 12 races.
F1 back pushing. Yep. yeah. Well,
that's super cool. Obviously, even more points for Lewis to do it in the hometown. Like, it's even better, obviously, in Silverstone.
Yeah.
I asked this question earlier. I was asking the guys, I was like, hey, who do you think the hometown crowd roots for more, Lando or Lewis? I was like, nah, I think if you have a 7-time champion out there, you're probably rooting for Lewis more at the same time. But
yeah.
I think that the longtime fans definitely root for Lewis, but I think the newer fans are probably more Lando fans because he's young.
For sure.
He's more media friendly than Lewis has been. Lewis has always been great with the media, but in the recent years, he's been on this downtrend where he's been kind of out of the spotlight, not winning races. So
But Lando is funny. Like, he live streams.
Yeah.
Like, did any of you see oh guys, I need to take a sip of a drink that I can't show on stream? He was drinking a Red Bull on stream and he cut it out while he was racing with his esports team Quadrant.
That's funny.
And all his teammates are like, oh, he's drinking a Red Bull. He's like, Norris was like, no, I only drink Monster Energy. He shuts the camera, takes a sip, cuts it back. Is like, oh, that was terrible. Oh my gosh, guys! Like, it was the funniest. Like, that's why so many more fans. And people forget McLaren's a British team. They're not owned by British owners anymore. But they're a British team. Like, so many historical people also root for them. Like,
true.
People have been following for years and years.
Yeah.
I would say, I think as much as we wanted, well, I wouldn't say we, but me at least thought that Lando was going to win. I think this was Lewis Hamilton's race to lose, honestly. I think
agree.
going in, Oh, Jason gets to
Oh,
go.
George had that in the bag. He was faster in the race. He was faster in qualifying, and he lost. He lost hydraulics. Like, literally.
Is that what happened?
George is still gonna finish ahead in the championship. Like, I don't see Lewis taking it back.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
My argument agreeing with Steven is that when I knew it was going to rain, my head immediately went to someone with a lot of experience is going to win this race.
That's why I thought Lando was going to win.
Yeah, as soon as it started raining, my head went, Lando's not winning this race, George isn't winning this race. This is going to be between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton. People with
older guys
that have experience driving in the wet. Every time I think of wet and Max Verstappen, I think of that incident in Brazil. I think it was like 2016, that huge save.
Yeah.
He's always had great races in the wet. So as soon as it started raining, as soon as I knew that rain was on the forecast, like pretty much a guaranteed thing, I was thinking this is Lewis's race to lose, seeing as he was ahead of Max, and Max was, he was terrible in the beginning. Not his fault. The Red Bull was just not.
No, it was Max's fault.
Yeah, that's what Checo was literally P17.
You're right. I'm just messing with you.
That's like poetry, seeing both the Sainz and Verstappen lap their teammates.
Yeah.
I'd like the same lap. Like, Sainz went through on Leclerc, and Verstappen went through on Perez for very different reasons. Leclerc
Yeah.
suffered a classic Ferrari strategy from the books, but Perez is just,
Meanwhile,
he's
Carlos with skill
he
issues.
has one foot in the retirement home, is what I'm gonna
Or
say.
Sergio.
Well, the funniest thing I'll say about this is during the commentary we were talking about before the pod with doubling up on pit stops because of the rain and stuff.
Yeah.
Checo actually helped Red Bull in that respect because he was so far back that they didn't really have to worry about that.
No,
He was so far back, and he even he qualified P19 because of that spin he had, which we'll talk about in a little bit. And then they took the power unit penalty. They took all the new power unit to add it to his allocation. So I mean, at that point, and as soon as I saw that he was starting on hards from the pit lane, I knew he was Red Bull's test driver. They wanted to know how the hards were going to perform, and they were using Checo to do it. I mean, there is no doubt about it. They knew with the run of form that he's been having that he wasn't even going to be in the points, pretty most likely. So unless some miracle happened, and he wasn't. So really, he was just a test driver. He was the dummy driver that would come in and test if it was ready to go to slicks or not and whatnot.
I mean, when hasn't he been a dummy driver this year?
That is true. That is true.
Very true.
The thing here's something I'm curious to get your guys' opinion on. Now, this is of course a lot of ifs here, but I'm curious with the way that Mercedes has been going, the way Ferrari is going. If say this keeps happening and Mercedes just keeps on getting better and better, we'll say Ferrari gets worse and worse. Does Lewis regret his decision to go to Ferrari already?
Nah, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, he just wants to wear red. He probably doesn't care about performance.
Well,
It's about driving the car, a Ferrari. It's
that's
about
true.
being a Ferrari driver, I think.
Yeah.
Fair
So
enough.
the
Fair
competitor
enough.
in you is probably like, damn, I made a mistake, but also like, it's a year from now, and you never know if Ferrari's going to be able to swing it back this year. Or
Right,
if
right.
we're just
No,
gonna
yeah.
swing
Like I
it
said, it's a
along.
lot of ifs.
But also, it
Like-
literally is that like wearing red is kind of a big freaking deal in F1.
When,
so,
we,
Yeah.
when we say that, the first thing that comes to mind is Tiger Woods wearing red on Sunday. That's the first thing that comes to mind when you say red like that.
oh, yeah.
I also think that
Listen.
Lewis is gunning for 26. His move to Ferrari is preempt for the 26 regulations. I think that it's probably pretty clear to him that 25 is not going to be his year. That's my thought on it. I don't think 25 is
That would
Ferrari's.
be
I think it'd be a miracle if he was able to win with Ferrari in 25.
Yeah.
Ferrari has won twice this year,
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm
just as much as Mercedes.
I'm saying with the championship. I'm not saying with races. I think he's more than capable of winning races with Ferrari in 25. I think the championship is still going to be between McLaren and Red Bull, maybe Mercedes next year. I don't think Ferrari's in that fight, but we saw how quickly things can change race by race.
Yeah.
Red Bull was the
Yeah,
fastest
that's
car
true.
4 weeks ago, or 4 races ago, and now Max was able to put it P2 with the third fastest car. So
I feel like most of like what we analyze, we have to be reactionary to because
Yeah.
everything changes like weekly.
so quickly.
Like
Yeah.
if you would have told me like 4 weeks ago that Mercedes was going to win 2 races in a row, like that's crazy to me. You know, that would have been like, nah, there's no way. What ninth place car is going to all of a sudden win 2 big freaking races? You know, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. Being reactionary, I think, is the only thing that we can like analyze on. And as of right now, Ferrari is not performing well.
Yeah.
But again, who knows? Next week, maybe Leclerc win. We'll see.
Yeah.
Or not next week, 2 weeks from now. 'cause we got
Yeah,
small-
we'll see. We'll see. Also, I would say that to that point, Tristan, what do we think is more surprising, George getting a win or Lewis getting a win this year? I mean, I would personally probably say Lewis.
Lewis.
I'll say Lewis, because he has not had a great year. George hasn't either, but like George, we
George
know
had a better
but-
year.
Yeah,
He's been
yeah.
consistently faster
We
this
know
year.
that he's quick. So
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Well, you touched on Lewis to Ferrari. That started the wrecking ball that is the driver market for this year. I want to touch on something that happened very beginning of the weekend, kind of rewinding to Friday, because FP1 on Friday, there was 4 junior drivers on the track. Ollie Bearman, who was confirmed for HAAS, and I want to get you guys' thoughts on that. But also Jack Doohan for Alpine, Franco Colapinto for Williams, and Isaac Hadjar for Red Bull. I think there's a lot of changes coming. I don't know that those are the drivers that are going to be doing it. I think Liam Lawson has a good chance. He's doing a test for Red Bull in Silverstone on Thursday, which happens to also be the same test that Daniel Ricciardo did that got him the job over Nick DeVries. So,
Wow. History is repeating itself.
yeah, that poses the question. Is Checo on his way out post-summer break? and thoughts on Haas signing Ollie Bearman for 25.
Well, I'll say that Ollie Bearman signing is kind of, I mean, I guess it's not unexpected, but I know we talked about him just going straight to Ferrari, right? And, well, not straight to Ferrari. What am I
No, we were
talking about?
talking about him going to Haas. I think
No,
we were,
yeah, I know, but I'm
predicted
trying to
that.
think now. Liam Lawson's going to Mercedes, right? Am I crazy? Which one's going to Mercedes?
Nah,
Antonelli.
Antonelli.
Probably.
Antonelli, okay.
Antonelli.
That's why I was getting confused there. But yeah, no, I mean, Ollie Bearman to Haas is cool, I guess. I mean, I just hope it doesn't, especially now that I'm sure we're going to talk about more with Esteban Ocon being confirmed to Haas. I don't know how I feel about that.
Bestie, bestie.
Is that
Oh, yeah.
Bestie confirmed for Haas?
I think so.
He was confirmed for Mercedes at multiple points in the past few years. So a major downgrade, but as the way it runs, actually Haas is looking really good.
think
AU Komatsu,
so?
On that.
Kill
But
it.
is he 100%
killer with it.
I haven't seen anything official.
It's not confirmed, no.
Well, I think what it was, nothing has been signed, but it's officially unofficial, if that makes sense.
People
Or-
saying
I was
it's a
looking
done
so
deal.
excited for Haas too. I was like, oh man, maybe young talent. This car is actually kind of quick. I mean, 2 back-to-back weeks with like points. And they've been good
Yeah.
this year. It's like, oh my
Yeah.
god, maybe this will be good. Maybe next year will be
Yeah.
really good. So now
I
I'm-
would just never. I think I would never want a rookie driver driving with Esteban Ocon as his first teammate.
That's what I'm saying. It's like,
That would be awful.
he's evil.
But
I
would
mean,
you
I guess
rather
then
he
again, what's that?
would you rather he drive with Kevin Magnussen?
No,
Yes.
I'd rather him drive with Hulkenberg if possible. But like, I mean,
Hulkenberg's already signed to Audi, so that's
I know
definitely
that's what I mean. But
That's next year, right? That's not 26.
no, that's 25. Yeah.
That is
he'll be-
next year. Botas is staying in the sport. I don't think it's at Sauber. Yeah, probably
He's going to
Williams.
But it's all going to depend on Carlos Sainz, which is
But
kind
then
of
true.
Logan
Yeah.
Sargent has had a killer last few races. Like he's literally
Okay,
Last-
you can't compare him
the
to
last-
Checo Perez now.
well,
you can't do that.
You can't because the Minister of Defense is supposed to be a lot better, right? But in a Williams, Logan Sargent has started ahead of Checo Perez 7
But,
out of the last
I-
12 races.
Are we gonna say that Logan Sargent being good or Checo Perez is being bad?
Both.
Like, I think that's more
I
Checo
think
just being
Albon.
bad.
I think Albon. Yeah, no.
Let's see,
Logan.
a movable object
Logan's
and
getting
see
ready
how
to
something works.
go to IndyCar. Prema, the famous like junior series magnate, they have cars in like every junior series. Amazing Formula 2 team. It's the one Leclerc raced for, F3, F2. So many great drivers through Prema. They're having an IndyCar team next year, and they need drivers. And Logan Sargent's in top spot, so you'll see him at the 500 next year. Throw it in the wall at 200 miles an hour.
Oh gosh, and it just got
Oh,
hybrids
no.
too.
That.
Yes, IndyCar is now hybrid. So after
Yeah, but you said Logan on a decent run of form the last couple races, but James
Yes,
Vowles
he has
does not
been.
agree with you. James Vowles doesn't agree with you because James Vowles has been the biggest defender of Logan Sargent, saying we're looking at lineups for 25. But this weekend his tone was very different, saying that he basically said that they were looking at changes for post summer break for Logan. My question
that's
though,
really soon. Could that be Antonelli test run for Mercedes next year?
I don't think so. He's doing really good in F2. I don't think it would be worth it for them. I don't think that makes sense realistically. That would have to be someone like that's waiting in the wing. Someone like maybe Felipe Drukovic, Pietro, someone who didn't get their shot and just to kind of test out the waters, to have someone else. I don't think it's worth it. To be fair, I think Logan's not crashing the car. He's been decent. He's the last couple of races, like you said, he has been on a pretty decent run of form, and he hasn't had the upgrades fitted the proper way. I mean, he's been complaining about them a lot. I think was the floor or the front wing that just wasn't to his liking.
Something.
So, anyways,
Whatever it is, he won't be seeing kilometers anymore. He'll be seeing miles because he'll be back in America.
Oh yeah.
America.
Pretty
All
soon.
right. All right, let's talk quali, because actually Logan had a pretty decent quali. Who had a terrible quali was Sergio Perez. God, I don't know
Speaking
how to
of,
qualify anymore. Apparently, I-
more like you said, these are test drivers. So I mean, do
I
what you
think
gotta
it's
do,
been
I
like
guess.
P11, P16, P16, P8, P8, P19 now in like the last 6 races.
Ouch.
I think he's been
Apparent-
out-qualified by Logan in the last 4 or 5 races.
Yeah.
The rumor about well, first of all, like Christian Horner, as they've said for every race, has said, well, Checo needs a big race tomorrow. Nobody's more disappointed than him. If he's like, they repeat that every weekend.
Oh my god.
And I don't know if anybody's heard, but the rumor about a performance clause in his contract is like he needs to be within 100 points in 5 positions of Max Verstappen by the end of the Belgian Grand Prix. Right now, he's 119 points behind and 5 places behind. He's in 6th
Not good,
in the
Chief.
championship.
Not good, Chief.
And he's not getting any.
Nope.
Unless he beats Verstappen before Belgium, which I think is 2-3 races away, I think he's done. He's done.
Belgian Grand Prix is the last one before we leave for the break, right? It's Hungary and then Belgium and then break, right? I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's right.
Yes,
I'm checking the
yes, it
schedule
is.
right now.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So essentially, he has 3 weeks to be within 2 race weekends and 3 weeks to be within 100 points of Max Verstappen, is what you're saying.
Man, Checo got grow
it's
some
all
wings, I'll
over.
tell you what.
He's also only like 7 points away from being like in 8th in the standings behind George Russell and Lewis Hamilton. So I mean,
yeah, Lewis and George. George will get him first, and then Lewis will get him. He's done.
It's kind of crazy how that is, just because how good Lewis and George have. Well, George more so than Lewis, I think we'd all agree, has been better than Lewis. But put the way Checo has been, like Lewis and George have been so much better than George. Than Checo. It's not even funny.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the biggest thing we've been talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks is that Red Bull is fighting one-legged. It's a one-legged race.
Yep.
They're losing they're going to lose the championship.
They are. They're going to lose the constructor unless they make a switch. And to be honest, if I were them, I wouldn't even switch for Danny Rick. I leave Danny Rick exactly where he is, and I'd switch for Liam Lawson. And then you can make a decision going to 2025 who's staying in Red Bull and who's going to VCarb. Because Liam Lawson did such a good job coming in to the AlphaTauri last year. I think he's adaptable. I think it's all going to come down to the Silverstone test on Thursday. To be completely honest, right after Belgium announcement that's like Checo's out, Liam's in, and whether that be Liam in the VCarb or in the Red Bull, I don't know. But I think he's the likely chance. Like it's him. It's not. There's no one else that comes to mind for Red Bull to take over that seat.
Yeah, not at this point. Yeah.
In the world of politics and rumors, it sounds like Marco has less power in driver decisions, which is why Checo is still here. Because Horner kind of wanted him, but I don't think they're going to make the same mistake. They've put young drivers in before, like they put Gasly in right away. He wasn't ready for Red Bull yet. Amazing drivers still in the sport, not ready for Red Bull. Same thing with Albon. They put Albon in right away. He wasn't great either. He wasn't ready yet. He was undercooked and actually was out of F1 for a year after that. Almost ended his career. I don't think they're going to throw Liam. There's no % chance they're throwing Liam in the Red Bull. He's going to go in the VCarb. Ricardo's going to have a little bit of a run in the Red Bull, and he'll be he'll be a marketing ambassador by the end of next year. Ricardo.
They have nothing to lose. They literally have nothing to lose.
No,
Paris isn't even
they don't.
He's not even scoring points. He finished P17 today.
Ouch.
But I don't think
That
Liam.
hurts.
There's no way they put him in the top team right away.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'd hope not for his sake.
As good as Leclerc was, top team no go. And De Vries just happened. You saw what happened to De Vries.
Yeah. So
He
let's
got
say
inzed.
let's say they switch to Danny Rick, and it's Max and Danny Rick at Red Bull, and then you have Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda at VCarb. If Danny Rick shits the bed, and Carlos Sainz hasn't signed anywhere, is there any chance Carlos goes to Red Bull?
I
Is that
hope so. I
cards?
really hope so.
Yeah, I would hope so. That'd be the smart thing to do.
Potentially.
I would love that. Like, he hasn't signed anywhere yet. There's been tension for weeks of he's got it with Alpine. He's got it with Williams. He's got it with Audi. and nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it's such a stretch
He's
getting
taking
Carlos
his-
into that seat.
I hope so. I think science is thinking what you're thinking, is that Perez is out and he's up next.
Well,
Mm.
Sainz is being realistic to the fact that if Perez is potentially out, that leaves a decision to be made at Red Bull. There's still a decision to be made at Mercedes. Antonelli had his first win this weekend in Formula 2, so he's showing better form than he was before. But it still begs the question of, like you said, Gasly wasn't ready for Red Bull. Alex wasn't ready for Red Bull. Is Kimi Antonelli, after 1 year of Formula 2, ready to go straight to Mercedes now that they're showing this great run of form? Or is it better to chuck him in a Williams?
I'd rather put him
Because
in
our
Williams at this point.
whole argument for Kimi Antonelli to Mercedes was they literally have nothing to lose. They're driving like a freaking horse and carriage.
Yeah.
Like, they're slow. There's no nothing to lose Kimi Antonelli in. But now they're fast. Now they're scoring points. They're up for race wins. I don't know if Kimi Antonelli is up for the challenge. Honestly, I
Yeah.
watch a lot of
Yeah.
races.
I mean, not yet.
Mercedes caliber yet. It's not that he won't be. I think he's really, really good, but I think that I don't know. I'm hesitant to say that he deserves the Mercedes seat for next year.
When's the last time they've thrown any top team has thrown
Would have been like
a
Max
young
Verstappen.
driver into the top seat? It could
No,
have been
Max
Max
didn't go
Verstappen, but he even started in Toro Rosso. I think even
Oh.
Vettel didn't go. Do you know who
Toro
did
Rosso.
go
I think
straight
it was
into a title fight? Lewis Hamilton,
That okay, yeah.
2007.
Yep.
They threw him in a title fight. He almost won. He tied with Alonso for second. The guy just coming off of 2 world championships. Like, last
Yeah.
time it happened,
Yeah.
literally the best driver of all time pulled it off.
Well,
Like, I don't think they're gonna pull that again.
No.
No. my question is too. You would probably have to answer this, Jason or Maria or Tristan, if you know as well. But how good was Lewis in like F2, F3?
He was indeed very good in GP2.
Yeah,
He
we're just
deserved
talking.
put into that F2 seat for sure, or that F1
Yeah.
seat for sure. From what used to be F2, F3, which was GP2,
Yeah.
GP3.
Well, my point is just like I feel like nowadays, especially knowing now that Lewis did have multiple wins, I feel like Ollie Bearman and Kimi Antonelli, like drivers like that, have been kind of, I don't want to say overhyped, but just in the fact they've only, like, who was it? Kimi Antonelli just has first win in F2. It's just
this
like,
weekend.
yeah, it's like, because like
Some people get too excited about young
well,
talent.
that's
Yeah,
what
I
my point
agree.
is. Like, I think they shouldn't just be like, oh, he got to win, we got to put him in it. Red Bull right now. It's like, no, like, okay, he won a race, congratulations. Like,
Well,
You know what's funny too? If you wanna listen, this just shows a little bit of history that I know. Is that seat opened up at McLaren for Hamilton because Juan Pablo Montoya left the team to go race NASCAR. So
oh, there you
Yeah.
go. I didn't even know he raced for
a little
McLaren.
history back from
fun
me.
fact.
Well, he had the infamous, I won't go that deep into it, but tennis incident. Apparently his contract excluded him from playing tennis, and Montoya went and played tennis and injured himself.
Oh,
So
no.
there was like always a mystery of like, why is he sitting out? Where is he? What he's
Yeah.
doing? And they called in Pedro de la Rosa to
He
fill in.
played the forbidden
And-
sport.
Yeah, and then guess what? Pedro de la Rosa, his fill-in, did. He set
Play
the lap
tennis?
record at
Oh.
Bahrain, which he still holds to this day.
Wow.
So like, the only thing he accomplished all year was get
well,
that
guys,
lap
we
record.
got the lap
And he
record
still
of
has it.
Bahrain. Yeah.
He still has it. So
Well, good for him, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like to that point, they just shouldn't let drivers
It's-
in that early with one win.
Yeah.
I agree. There has been a lot recently of drivers that get a lot of hype and then they get put in. I like Ollie Bearman got a seat at Haas only solely based on his performance at Ferrari back in Jeddah.
Yeah,
Because
which I
his-
think's fair.
F2 championship run this year has been horrendous. I
Mm.
mean, he's had. I mean, truthfully, not a lot that's his fault. A lot of getting crashed out by other drivers. A lot of incidents that weren't his fault, but also like a lot of technical failures and stuff like that. So it's not his fault that he's like. I want to say he's like 14th or 15th in the F2 standings right now. So he's not
Ouch.
running.
Yeah.
But that one race in F1, it meant a lot. Now, Kimi Antonelli hasn't even had that chance to prove himself in F1,
Yeah.
but did those tests that apparently he was faster than George. So there's been a lot around that as well. I think the media pushes certain drivers a lot. So,
Oh, I'm sure.
but kind of back to qualifying. We said Checo had a terrible qualifying. Max had a strange qualifying on the other end of Red Bull. He went over the gravel, lost 100 points of downforce, and in turn 3 to 4 tenths a lap, which I want to point out as I am such a Red Bull Max Verstappen fan, would have put him on
Oh
pole.
boy.
3 to 4 tenths would have put him on pole.
Let's not go that far.
So
He made
let's
the
just
mistake.
do that. He did,
That's
But
what I'm
Max
gonna say.
Verstappen's human question mark?
but it was starting to rain. So
Yeah,
Mm.
you know what?
mistake, Mr. Ferrari, Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc made a mistake. Charles Leclerc was knocked out in Q2. So you're one to talk.
All right, the Monaco Victor Chuckles got put on a bad strategy today. So
Yeah, but he's on a bad strategy because he had a terrible qualifying.
yeah,
I don't know
he
about
did.
that.
He did.
No, I'm not saying that, but I know he got bad strategy because of it.
No.
Well, you can't exactly do the same strategy from if you're on pole than if you're starting P11.
No, yeah, but I don't know that you can have a bad
No,
strategy.
it was just a Ferrari special. Like literally, they threw him on tires too early. They made like an extra stop they didn't need to. Yeah, no. All in all, I do have to agree. He had a terrible qualifying. Sainz somehow found time in the car that Leclerc just couldn't.
Even
Yeah.
then, it was only P7. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ferrari were slow, but Leclerc was that much slower.
yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
great to see. Well, not great, but funny to see Verstappen and Sainz lap Perez and Leclerc on the same lap, like at the same time. Like
man.
Leclerc and Perez are like battling for like 16th, and then like Verstappen and Sainz are like battling for 5th, and they lap them. Like that was a sight. That was a sight, but
man.
At
for
the
very
very least,
different reasons.
yeah. Well, at the very least, Charles Leclerc had a better
Has a
race.
seat.
He doesn't have a seat.
That
but
is
he had
true.
a better race than Perez. On a bad weekend for Ferrari, he still had a better race than Perez. So
That's
Um,
saying something.
Steven was so close to predictions for so long. We had the Union Jack takeover for qualifying 1, 2, 3. First British 1, 2, 3 in qualifying since 1968, which is incredible. Props to them.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the British fans were very, very happy with that. They were also
Oh,
probably very
absolutely.
happy with the race start in which nobody collided. It was very clean.
Yeah, it was very peaceful.
I
Surprisingly
was
so.
very nervous. Russell has a history of taking out Max Verstappen. It's happened a couple times.
Oh gosh, here we
Out
go.
first lap, and Lando and
A
Max
history.
Austria. Russell's
Oh,
taken
yeah.
out several people on the first lap before. He took out Carlos Sainz in Austin of, I don't know if it was last year or 2022. Do you not
That's
remember
not
that?
a history. A history would be like Romain Grosjean, where like he literally got banned and ruined Alonso's title race in like
It's happened
2012.
at least 3 times.
That's a history.
Okay,
It
well,
depends
it's
on the
happened.
frequency.
All right,
It's happened.
all right, sure.
And Lando was right next to him with that whole battle with Austria. I was very nervous.
Now that I will say, that was a little crazy by Lando to go 3 wide there. I think that was a little over aggressive.
I don't think it would have worked in any circumstance.
He should have.
Tried.
He wasn't going to keep the position over Max. He could have. I think it helped him keep the position over Oscar.
Probably.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Yeah.
help him position over Max ever.
No,
I think
Max
that,
having the outside line coming out of turn 2, he was always going to get that position. But
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it was pretty important, I think, for his race because he was eventually passed by Lando and by Oscar, but it took a while. And I think if he had been stuck behind both McLarens, he wouldn't have been able to undercut them for longer. I mean, because I think he put it on 27? Yeah, 27. So it's what, 10 laps after Oscar passed him, he pits. So I feel like
Yeah.
he wouldn't have been able, if he had lost more time to Oscar, he probably would have been able to undercut them. Although
That's
McLaren
true.
had the fastest car this weekend. Let's not
Sure did.
McLaren had the faster car, and they managed to bottle the strategy so bad twice.
Okay.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
I
will
mean, George
say-
was on pole, and it was a Mercedes one too.
But
Yeah.
McLaren on lap 18 was the first little shower, and Hamilton overtook Russell, and then Lando and Oscar both overtook the Mercedes. So it was McLaren
right.
Mercedes going into the pit stop. If they had simply they could have kept it that way. It wasn't that hard. But
Yeah.
No. Max and Carlos pitted 27. And then I think Hamilton pitted on 28 with Lando, and then they just got undercut.
Well, no, Lando pitted after Lewis did.
You're right. Both Mercs and Carlos pitted on 27, and Lando pitted on 28, I think.
Yeah.
So they pitted a lap.
You got a couple problems here. One, you got 2 slow stops by McLaren, one by Piastri and one also with Lando.
Yeah.
And then also, we talked about before the pod, Piastri had a bad pit call, came in too early. Then Lando also had a problem. Now, I do kind of like the strategy because I think it's worked before where they've gone in late because they've been able to have better, keep up their tires. But again, Lando just went in. He had like a 4.5 second stop, I think. One, because he slid into the pits because, wet pit road.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then also
mechanics were coming out, and he had to kind of avoid them a little bit.
No, yeah.
Price strategy. Those are the kind of things we're good at, is doing the little advantages not on track.
Without actually doing
man.
Like the fire last week, it's because Ferrari set fire to their coffee machine, so all the McLaren mechanics are sleepy. So that's why George won.
Whatever it takes, I guess.
That's why they collided, because Norris could, he saw Verstappen drift over, and Norris was falling asleep. So and then they punctured.
Oh my God.
So
I guess maybe that is what happened. Maybe they saw some melatonin in there. I don't know.
So clippable.
I mean, the thing I'll say is too. Can we just talk about? And they did it with Ferrari too. Zach Brown coming over the radio with I know they mentioned it before. Lando even came in. He's like, "Yeah, we got new mediums for you if you want them." And then when he came into the pitch, he's like, softs or mediums, guys?" And he's just like,
It's like they weren't clear.
I have said it before, and I will say it again. McLaren's biggest downfall is the fact that they never seem to be able to make their own decisions. That is,
we see it with Ferrari time and time again.
Oh yeah.
Question.
With this kind of wet to dry conditions, I'll Red Bull, for example, they were asking him questions. They were giving him their information, giving Max their information, and Max, on the first call, that was Max's call. Max came on the radio and said, "I'm coming in this lap," and they had to be ready for it. And obviously, it worked out for him. But on the second stop, I'm pretty sure it was GP, and I think you mentioned her earlier, Hannah Schmitz, who made the call, and they chose the tire.
Yeah.
Come on the radio being like, "Do you want inters or wets? Do you want hards or mediums?" That's a call that an engineer needs to make, having all of the information about what tire, because he pitted. Did he pit the lap after on the second stop?
Lando?
Yep. Lando pitted the lap after Max and Lewis, so they knew what tires Max and Lewis were on.
Yeah. And they were talking about it. It's like,
do you want to cover Lewis or do you want to cover Max?
Yeah.
Max was on medium, Lewis was on softs. You have Max was on hards, Lewis was on softs. You have a fresh medium. Why not take it? Piastri was one of the fastest cars at the end of the race.
Yeah.
He was on
mediums are the tires to be on, and the only reason that Lewis wasn't on mediums is because Mercedes had no more new mediums left. They're all used tires, so they had to go softs.
I mean, I don't blame Lando for going for softs in that situation, just following a 7-time champion with their tire strategy. Yeah. But at the same time,
it cost him the P2.
That could have been why.
That's what my thought was. I'm like, well, you might as well follow a 7-time champion. I mean, he knows what he's doing. I hope. But no, I mean, the problem is, you just look at it. It's like, let's see. So we said that he passed at 27, right? That's when he pitted.
He pitted on 28.
Well, there's 2.
And then on 40.
Okay.
28
Like,
was a good one for Norris, and then
Yeah,
40
yeah.
was
Okay.
a lap too late.
Yeah. Like 40, so 12 laps to go. That is way too long to go on a softs, in my opinion. It's like
His
like
tires
we
started
said it.
8 laps from the end of the race. Like, they only lasted.
Yeah, you said in the cool down room. Yep.
Yeah.
he's
I mean,
my
it's
tires
just
10 laps before yours, and they were only on it for 12 laps. So he had
Yeah.
degged 2 laps after putting on softs.
yeah. And like he just had too much. He had too much ground to make up. You got to go with a tire that's going to last you a little longer than that. It's just
Yeah.
again, you want to follow sometime champ, but at some point you got to do you and not do Lewis. It's like
I think also, I honestly, I mean, he was very critical of himself after the race and putting kind of that call on him. But like I said, that was a McLaren decision. That was
no,
not
right.
that he never
Right.
should have been in a position to make that call. That
Yeah.
I mean, at the very best, you could come on the radio and be like, Lando, would you prefer a new set of softs or a new set of mediums?
Yeah.
And then let him choose, right?
Yeah.
But and maybe take that as an advisement. Like they'll come in, like, I, as a Max fan, I listen to Max's radio a lot, and they do make those kind of questions to him. I'm not saying they don't, but it's like, Max,
Yeah.
would you prefer a new medium or a new hard, for example, or
Yeah.
use medium or a new hard? And Max will give his opinion, but at the end of the day, the call comes from the pit wall, not from Max. And sometimes the driver will question it, but I think the engineers are the ones that have all the decisions. And I think, to be honest, they're going to be kicking themselves for not taking the new medium, for not double stacking with Piastri, even though they were only about 0.6 away from each other. He lost 20 seconds by not pitting on the right lap, where he would have lost maybe 5 seconds by coming in right after Lando, and double stacking. So I don't know.
Hate to see it, man.
I also, very quickly, shame for George. His race ended so abruptly. I was so confused.
Definitely could have won it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Could have been a, what's it called? A full, obviously, the qualifying
Exact
order.
takeover.
Yeah, I was going to say a whole
takeover.
British takeover for the finishing order, but for the
Mhm.
front three at least. But so it goes.
Rule
Yeah.
Britannia.
Yeah, can't have it all.
I have video footage of me reacting to Max overtaking Lando. I was so excited. That
Oh, I bet.
was the epitome, and I think I don't know if even the Sky reporters the Sky Sports commentators were talking about it, but that battle was, to me, I mean, it wasn't aggressive at all. They were keeping their distance, but it was very smooth. There were no issues like last week. They were respectful. To be fair, I think when Lando overtook Max at the beginning, it was like lap 15. There was nothing that Max could do. Like, Max was like, what am I going to do? Defend against him? I have a way slower car. And when it came to the end of the race, I think Lando was kind of in a similar position where it's like, there's no way I'm keeping this guy behind me for 4 laps. He is on way faster tires. I think Max closed the gap like a second or 2 a lap. So he wouldn't have been able to keep him behind. So in an element, there is that where you're not really fighting for the race win, or you're barely fighting for a podium, or for the second place on the podium. But anyway,
Yeah, and that you gotta weigh out your decision of, do you risk the car? Do you burn out your tires? Do you allow the next driver to sneak in and also take your place? You just have to manage to the end at that point.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and Max almost took Lewis as well. He was only 1.4 seconds. Give him like 2 more laps, and Max would have won in Silverstone, but he didn't.
Thank goodness.
Said, Lewis being the first driver to win a race after his 300th race start, and the first driver to win 9 races at one single racetrack, which is quite cool.
Very good.
Incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Like, best of all time. The future Ferrari driver, he's been incredible.
I'm sorry, Jason. I don't know that he's gonna be remembered as a Ferrari driver, though.
Well, no, of course, I'm not gonna call him a Mercedes driver anymore. I'm only referencing him as a future Ferrari driver.
FFD.
After he retires, it's gonna be
There's-
former Ferrari driver Lewis Hamilton.
There's too many years of watching him beat Vettel, and so I have to revert to remember he's a Ferrari driver now.
It's okay. You can take a deep breath.
Oh man, 2017 Baku, and then 2018 Germany, and then the beating in 2019 and 2020. Too much.
Do you think that Seb is more remembered for his days at Red Bull or his days at Ferrari?
Obviously, Red Bull. Yeah.
So do you think that Lewis is going to be more remembered for his days at Ferrari or his days at Mercedes? Because I think it's going to be Mercedes.
Mercedes,
absolutely,
for sure. But
comes back to the paddock 10 years after he retires, it's going to say former Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton or 7-time.
No, I could call him former Ferrari driver.
Is it ever going to say Ferrari driver Lewis Hamilton?
Yeah, imagine it was
I could
former
call him that.
Ferrari Mercedes driver Lewis Hamilton.
Nah, I'm just gonna call him Ferrari driver. That's gonna be it.
How many years did Seb race at Ferrari?
4?
15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 26.
6.
All right, so I mean, I think
maybe
that's
it's just
a little bit better than if Lewis decides to do 1 or 2 years at Ferrari and calls it a day.
Wow, it's like
Okay.
I think he's going to be 3. I think he's going to do 25, 26, and 27.
okay. I mean,
I think I'm gonna have a Lewis Hamilton shirt this time next year.
No.
It's gonna be red.
All right.
Ooh.
Funny to wear a Lewis Hamilton shirt.
Only
In
if it's
fact,
red.
I'm very happy that I am winning our fantasy right now because I did not want to take the punishment of potentially wearing a Lewis Hamilton shirt if I had lost fantasy. So I'm winning and therefore don't have to take the punishment of ever wearing a Lewis Hamilton shirt in my life. We still need to come up with y'all's punishments if you lose fantasy.
I'm game for anything.
Which is definitely going to be Tristan or Steven because me and Jason are fighting for the win right now.
No.
Wow.
We won this week. You completely changed their team this week and won. Okay? You guys think the old dog doesn't hunt, huh? So watch out.
Won by
Why are
11
you doing
points
your
after
words
being
in
like
November?
700 points behind me.
Whoa.
That's a little exaggerated.
And I took 50 this week. So,
You won by
seasons
11
end.
points.
Oh, wait, no, I'm talking. Who came in last? I
This
Jason?
week, I came in last this week.
think I had a good margin against Jason. I don't know.
I think I scored like 52 or 55 points. So
I ain't losing. Why not coming first?
So
I ain't losing.
I guess we're gonna have to come up with a punishment for Steven then for losing fantasy.
I guess so.
Good luck.
Fantasy worlds and fantasy drivers. The trailer for the F1 movie came out this weekend. Well, I guess trailer, teaser, whatever you want to call it.
Teaser trailer.
What do you guys think about it?
Seems cool.
I mean, it was super simple. Obviously, they show us. What a teaser trailer is going to show you. Like, this movie looks cool. It's got Brad Pitt in it.
The
It
most
looks
Brad
correct. Like, I mean, it looks like it's
very
fitting the
true.
scene.
Yeah.
I don't know. The drivers, like Brad kind of looked like a Formula One driver, like in some way.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
he's really enjoying himself being around in the paddock and stuff.
I think the question is, and people are always going to say this because I feel like we've only ever gotten one really good Formula One movie, which is Rush. But will it be better than Rush? And I don't think so. I think that's going to be really hard because that's also me. Like when I see a movie, I love a historical movie, like a movie that has like meaning to it. So like obviously the story of Rush with Niki Lauda and James Hunt. And their rivalry and their coming up and all like that. That was a real story. It was interesting. It was cool.
Yeah.
This is going to be a completely new idea. It's going to be completely like, I don't know, kind of
It's
Drive
like-
to Survive type vibe. Like meaning it's new. It's like it's fresh. It's
Yeah.
not
It's
gonna
gonna
be
be.
The kids will love it.
I don't know
Maybe.
how I feel about it being like a fictional story, but shot within a real race weekend. Because
No,
like
that's my favorite part of it, though.
Really? No.
It is cool.
the worst part because I can't get into the movie because I'm going to spend the whole movie being like, oh, that was Silverstone 23 and this was Silverstone 24 and this was this race or
Marina-
whatever.
That's fair.
It'll make it
Marina's
feel so much more real.
No. Marina's
me.
going to see Max Verstappen lose to Brad Pitt. He's going to lose it.
And
Man.
Brad Pitt is like, I
Like,
guess he just didn't want it, you know. He gotta want it. Like he's gonna say something like that. Like,
when
man.
shouting about not being first or second in the British Grand Prix shows up in the background of one of Brad Pitt's interviews. Like,
That's gonna be
I hope so.
great.
doesn't-
I mean,
it-
the
opinion.
The way I'm thinking of it, it's like Hard Knocks, but with paid actors. It's
gonna be fun. I'm ready. I like that
Yeah.
they called it F1. Like everyone's waiting for like the title, like ooh, what's it give you? And they said, oh,
F1.
it just call it's the F1 movie. It's F1.
Yeah.
It's not
Go
just
do
F1,
it.
like just Formula One or written whatever. It's literally the logo. The name of the movie is the F1 logo, meaning it literally has the little trademark on it
I was
too.
gonna say, I wonder how that royalty is gonna work out.
Oh, it's gonna work out great for Liberty
I don't know
Media.
who's paying who.
Oh, I'm sure, but
It's an Apple film. It's an Apple film.
oh, that's right. Yeah,
I don't know who's
Yeah.
paying who though, because they're
it's gotta
using
be both. I mean,
marketing for F1,
Yeah.
but they're
Yeah.
also using F1 race weekends and F1 footage and F1 trademarks. I'm sure they have to be paying something to F1, but maybe it's not
yeah.
cash payment, or rather maybe an equity thing. Something,
Whatever
not
it is,
the word, but something where you get a share of the profits.
Yeah.
royalties.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, word escaped me, but
Apple
also,
becomes the official provider of F1.
literally, I didn't
Tim
think I'd ever
Apple
see
looked
this,
thrilled
but
to wave that checkered flag last year. So
I love to wave the. Oh God, I'm blanking on his name, and that's gonna be so bad. But the guy from Queen who did the wave the flag today.
Ryan May.
There we go. I'm totally
Right
blanked
now.
on his name. I was literally.
What's funny is, so
I went to
I
his concert.
yeah, I follow Brian on social media because I think he's great. And he obviously in the pre-race, Martin Brundle tried to get an interview out of him, and he just like said, no, thank you. Well, he went on Instagram, said, "What a great day it was in Silverstone. By the way, Mr. Brundle, I highly apologize. I'm just an anxious, nervous guy who doesn't know much about F1. I really didn't want to get scolded on the internet."
Oh man.
Dude, I love
That's
that.
all it was. He's such a genuine dude. But
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's fair.
Before we wrap up, my highlight of the weekend, real quick, was that Lewis and George watched England versus Switzerland Euros penalty.
Oh, I did see that. Yep.
It
Yep.
with the
like,
crowd,
1,000
yeah,
people, which I thought was really cool.
Oh
that
yeah.
was cool.
Yep.
Also a couple press conference moments. Firstly, Max was telling the print media, apparently right before the press conference, as they were waiting for Lewis, that a stone hit his hand.
I did hear that. Yep.
It pain. Not like it wasn't like this big pain or anything, but it was uncomfortable throughout the race because a stone hit his hand, and I was like,
Strange. I wonder how they even got in there. Well, I guess their hands are slightly above.
Yeah,
Hey,
their knuckles
that's-
when they turn like stick
Oh,
out of
yeah.
it. Yeah.
so that's probably when it happened. But go for it.
I was gonna say that's just a Ferrari with like a slingshot in the pit wall, just going.
Oh yeah, that's their strategy. Like the pit lane people when they don't need to be, and then you got like Fred on the pit wall with the slingshot. Like,
Oh, he's like, got him.
he's like right through the fence. Mm.
Absolutely.
Bingo.
Lastly, I want to touch on this real quick because I think it's important. We talked so much about it last week. The incident between Lando and Max in Austria. Lando, in the pre weekend press conference, he said he didn't think Max should apologize. He actually, looking at the incident, didn't even know if it should be punished, meaning he maybe shouldn't have gotten a penalty. All the drivers that were asked said that they didn't feel the incident was worthy of a penalty. It was just a racing incident. You guys still think racing incident?
Yeah.
Agree?
Yep. We
I agree.
nailed it. And again,
2019
we all
was
said,
not.
and he even
This
said,
was.
like Lando said in his, I think one of the interviews he did, he was like, yeah, I mean, what I said then, like probably doesn't reflect how I feel now.
Yeah.
Cooled down, stuff like that. So we said, emotions run high. It's literally that he just lost the Grand Prix, essentially, So
Yeah.
like you're obviously going to be harshly like emotional towards yourself and towards like the person that possibly caused you to lose it. But
Absolutely.
it turns out, as we all believe, and as he believed, and as the drivers believe, it's a racing incident. They race
It
hard.
is.
That's what this sport is.
Mhm.
Like we don't need the cops on everything. Let the boys run. Let them race. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure track racing.
yeah,
All right.
track racing.
While I find the quote of the day, predictions for Hungary in 2 weeks' time.
Hungary in 2 weeks' time. So I don't know if I have faith that the Mercedes are going to keep their speed. But
I don't.
I also don't think they're going to slow down. I don't know. It's a tough deal. Because obviously, I mean, Lewis had UK power today. And obviously George did too. It kind of helps just being in the home track. But I don't know. Hungary, I'm seeing Max get back on top. I think he's upset. He's pissed. He's going to drive with passion once he gets over to Hungary. So I think he's going to be P1 is Max, P2 Lando. And you know what? Nah, I'll go against the grain of what literally I just said. I'm going to have Lewis P3. Thinking Lewis P3.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I agree with you. I actually picked this before you said it.
Oh.
We're gonna go Max
wow.
P1, Lando P2, and Lewis P3. Just like it was in Spain? Yeah, just like Spain. I agree.
All right. Well, there you go.
Wow.
Steven?
Well, I am not going with Lando on this one. Shocker.
Man.
I'm not going to say Max just because I think they don't have the fastest car, and I think for the rest of the season they may just not. And I mean, I think McLaren still will. I don't see Piastri winning this. I'm going to go George win. I'm going to go Lando 2, Max 3.
All right.
Ooh. This is really tough. I mean, my dad was talking about it. He was like, because I always say, we'll finish a race, like last year, for example, when Max would win every race by like 30 seconds. And my dad would be like, that was so boring. I'd be like, that's not boring. Just like regular F1, like Max winning. He called me after.
That's just F1.
He goes, you see what we mean by we want competition and we want, like, at no point during this race was I 100% certain of what the podium positions was going to look like. Ever.
Yeah.
Nobody was ever sure. And I think that's where we're at right now, where it's like we have these predictions, but I'm truly have no idea what it's going to look like. I'm going to throw a shot in the dark. I think I have so much faith in Oscar. I think he's driving brilliantly, and I think if McLaren can just stop messing with him, then he can finally.
It's very true.
So
that's what's stopping me from saying that, unfortunately.
I think I'm gonna go George, Max, Oscar.
Wow. All right.
Very good.
So,
interesting.
And then I Lando and Hamilton will probably be in that P4, P5. I don't see them going far, and I also don't see the Ferraris being mega or anything. But I don't know. I can't look past the McLarens right now.
That's
so
fair.
Yeah.
We will see in 2 weeks' time. In the meantime, keep up to date on our socials at Lights Out Latest for Tech Tuesday, WAG Wednesday, Throwback Thursday, Fun Fact Friday, Occasional Man on the Streets, and the prediction you just heard and others are on our Instagram, as well as the podcast, of course, every Monday at 11:30 Eastern Time. Bye, guys.